This is Mary. Welcome to the IHC Craft Room.
In today's video, I'm going to show you how I made these super cute Harry Potter inspired potion ornaments. This is a craft that I found online. I'm going to link the blog below, and I'm going to show you all the steps and tools that I used to make these. These were super fun and something that you can do with your kids while they're at home on Christmas break. So gather the materials that you're going to need and let's get crafty.
Well, we can't make the ornaments without the ornaments, of course. And we're also going to need some glitter glue. Trust me, that's important, along with some food coloring and some glitter. I'm going to be using my Cricut machine today, so I'm going to need some vinyl and transfer tape. But if you don't have a Cricut machine, you can absolutely use some labels like these ones that I picked up at the Dollar Tree, or just print something out on your computer. It's really not a big deal. For our tools, we're going to begin as always with some paper and paper towels, as well as the cutting mat for the Cricut machine, a scraper, some pliers, a knife or cutting utensil like scissors or something, a weeding tool, some tweezers, a burnishing tool, and some key rings. I'll show you what these are for later. Rubbing alcohol, a measuring cup, and as always, my friend, the Skin Destroyer, saying your glue gun. Let's start by launching our Cricut Design Space application. This is a free app that can be downloaded from Cricut. Of course, there's always a paid subscription available, but I'm using the free version today. After starting a new project file, I'm going to be using a basic rectangle shape. And since we're going to be putting vinyl on a round surface, I'm going to minimize the level of rage this is going to cause by keeping my labels fairly shallow in height and width and make them easier to place on a rounded surface. I'm just going to go up here and unlock this height to width lock and change the width to 1.5 inches and the height to 0.5 inches. Now that I have the size I want, let's zoom in real quick. And then I'll switch this color to make it easier to see and then duplicate it until I have 6 identical rectangles. Now we're going to insert a text box and select the font that we want to use for our labels. Warning, you can lose hours selecting a font. I'm not kidding. So I'm going to save you some time and tell you the one that I landed on and save you watching me choose a font for 45 minutes. It's called Trade Gothic Display, and it is a free font available in the Cricut Design Space. Now I'm going to start typing out all of the potion names that I've selected and sizing them so that they are at their maximum available size in the space that I've selected for the labels. I'm going to slow this down to show you how I align the name in the center of our label. We're going to select both the rectangle and the text box, and then we're going to click on Align and go to Center Horizontally and then Center Vertically. This will make sure the text is in the perfect center spot on each and every label. The last step before we go to cut out our labels is to select each label and then go down here to the bottom where you see the word slice. That's exactly what it's going to do. It's going to slice that text right out of the rectangle, leaving the outline of the word behind, which is exactly what we want. I'm going to repeat this on each of these labels by highlighting them and then going down to slice. Then I'll separate out the text and delete it. We don't need that anymore. What we want is the label with the text cut out so you can see the potion within the ornament. We're all ready to go. So I'm just going to name my document and then I'm going to get up here in the top right corner and hit make. Make sure that your Cricut machine is on before you do that, or you're going to end up in a whole host of nonsense you don't want to deal with. It's going to separate it by color, but we're going to ignore that because it's not relevant here. And I'm just going to rejig where these are lined up so that it doesn't cut them too close to each other and make it awkward for me to weed. I'm going to set the base material as premium vinyl, and now we're ready to set up our vinyl, load up the machine, and start cutting. You'll notice I laid the vinyl down, and then I used a burnishing tool to press it down firmly on the cutting mat. This will help avoid the vinyl from lifting when it's being moved around and cut by the Cricut machine, and it will avoid any unnecessary cuts and mistakes. Now, I am all about preserving vinyl. Vinyl is not cheap, friends. So I'm just going to cut around what I've done on the Cricut machine today and save this bit of vinyl for another project. And now it's time to start weeding out the vinyl that we don't need and leaving behind just the labels. Of course, it's never this fast or this painless, but hey, that's the beauty of video editing. Let's get started applying the transfer tape. Transfer tape quite literally helps you transfer the vinyl from the backing onto the surface that you're applying it to. You want to make sure that you really stick the transfer tape down firmly to the vinyl so that you don't leave any vinyl behind. It will make you drink heavily, so try to avoid that if possible. I'm using some rubbing alcohol to prepare the surface of the ornaments by removing any oil or debris. It'll allow the vinyl to adhere better to the surface. Next, we're going to peel back the transfer tape, making sure that the vinyl is removed from its backing and is really adhering to the transfer tape itself. And then we're going to use a pair of scissors to cut some little slits on the transfer tape. This will allow it to bend and move more freely when we're trying to stick it to the ornament. There's no denying that you can put vinyl on a vast amount of surfaces, but putting it on a rounded surface that is this rounded is incredibly, incredibly frustrating and infuriating. And I am regretting it deeply at this point. I really wish I had just used the labels that I picked up at the Dollar Tree. I think it would have been much less frustrating for me. So, Mary from the future, don't do that again. Okay? Thanks. But since we're already down the rabbit hole, let's talk about transfer tape removal. You'll notice that I'm just really taking my time lifting up the corners. I'm using my weeding tool to get underneath the transfer tape. And I'm just trying my best to work out any bubbles from the vinyl and just make sure that the label is nice and flat against the surface. Well, you get the idea. Let's skip ahead and start making these potions, shall we? Let's start with some liquid luck, Felix Felicis potion. We're definitely going to need some of that. I'll begin by taking the top off of the ornament and bending these little prongs towards the inside. We're doing this because it'll be easier to put the caps back on once the ornaments are full of water and glue if these prongs are out of the way. Next, I'm going to pour some warm water about halfway to 3/4 of the way full, and then we're going to add some food coloring to the water. I ended up adding about 10 drops of this yellow food coloring, followed by the entire bottle of the gold glitter glue. And then, because in my opinion, there's just never enough glitter, I added a whole bunch of glitter on top of all of that. I'm going to use a paper towel to cover the top of this and give it a shake just to mix everything together before we put the lid on. Now, this is the part where you definitely need a parent involved because the hot glue gun is seriously hot and I burn my hands all the livelong day. To try to minimize how much I burn my hands, that's why I'm using the pliers. That's the only way to make sure that I can get good adhesion and be able to actually really hold that cap down against the ornament without burning myself. But I still manage to do it anyway. Don't underestimate my ability to burn my fingers, kids. Next, we're going to work on amortentia, which is a love potion. Passionate, lustful love, not good love, crappy love, the love nobody needs in their lives, the love everybody needs to get the hell away from. That's this potion. So don't make this one. Anyway, we're making this the exact same way. We're just going to add some water, add some glitter glue, add some glitter, and then put our cap back on. So all of these are going to be made in the same way, but I am going to continue to show them very, very sped up because I think it's fun. And while we're at it, we can talk about some other stuff. Polyjuice Potion is probably the coolest of all of these ones. And it's because it allows you to become a complete physical replica of another human being by using a piece of them, whether that's hair or something, to mix into the potion and then become a physical replica of that person, which is crazy, but also super cool. And it's generally represented as green and brown in color. So I did a combo of that here with green dye and green glitter offset with the brown glitter glue. So that's Polyjuice Potion. Here's another really powerful potion. This is Veritas Serum. Verita means truth, and this is definitely a truth serum. So be careful. And with truth in mind, let me answer a question you probably have. Can the water really stay inside the ornament with just a little bit of glue in the cap? Yes, yes, it can. As long as you really saturate the cap with glue and make sure that those little holes where the hook is are really completely sealed, you will be fine and no water will come out. This next potion is probably the one we all need the most of. It's called the Draft of Peace, and it's to calm anxiety and soothe agitation. But unfortunately, nobody sent that memo to this ornament, and it decided to be the most difficult of the bunch. The cap just refused to stay on. It wouldn't sit level. It was all over the place. I don't even want to talk about it. Like, talk about not a draft of peace. This was like a draft of chaos. That's what it was. But in the end, I got the cap to stay on. No water came out, and I can use this ornament on my tree. So, mission accomplished. Last, we have Pepper Up Potion. I would say this is the equivalent of smelling salts to you muggles. It appears that the footage of me making this ornament has magically vanished. So, let's talk a little bit about it regardless. Since I didn't have a black glitter glue, I omitted it from this ornament, and I do not recommend doing that. The glitter glue is what's keeping the ornament fluid and everything kind of mixed together, whereas without it, with it just being water and glitter, it just clumped up and looked pretty gross actually. Thank you for joining me on this magical Harry Potter inspired adventure. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Hopefully now you're a bit less muggle and a lot more magic. Share your thoughts in the comments and remember to subscribe for more fun projects as we continue to get crafty together. Toodaloo!